Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, you just can't get it right? There's no way, there's just absolutely no way that you're ever going to succeed. There's the whole world is against you. The mountains are too high. The trails are too topsy-turvy. There's just too much stuff going on. You just don't know what way to go. You don't know anything to do. And it just seems like no matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you work at something, that you just keep failing. You just keep failing and struggling and failing and struggling. And there's just no way of ever getting out of the quicksand that you feel that you're in. I know in my past, I've had so many times like this in my life, and I think back to those days of, in current time, I go through these little segments in, like a day or two. Sometimes I get stuck in it for like a week. But I remember in my past, especially in my 20s, a young mom struggling financially. I was in a relationship that was not my ideal relationship, that I was not in love with myself in the relationship. I wasn't in love with my partner. I wasn't in love with the relationship. I wasn't in love with life at all back then. And because I was not in alignment to who I was, I couldn't get anything right, and I was missing the miracles that were happening. Because looking back, hindsight, right? I look back and I go, oh my gosh, look at all the miracles, look at all the beautiful manifestations, the power that I was even showing back then of getting things lined up. Like I remember being 18, 19 years old and proclaiming that I really wanted to move to Seattle. And here I was, Northern California girl, and we just freshly married, and actually about a year into the marriage, and had just had our first child, and world was crashing around us. We had just recently lost our apartment. We had no money to our name. I remember that my father-in-law had one of the 5-gallon water tanks, water bottles, those big blue ones. And he had been just throwing his spare change into it for probably 3 years. Who knows how long he had been putting all this money in there. And my husband then, him and I, we didn't know what to do. We definitely couldn't stay at mom and dad's house. We could, with our baby and everything. We couldn't move in there. It had just been a horrible, toxic situation. We hung out there for like a month though. And it was a struggle, and we were fighting and drinking too much, and it was just unhealthy in every possible way. But I remember my father-in-law saying, hey, we're not really going to help you, but you can have whatever's in the water bottle. You can have whatever's in the water bottle. And we had been tossing around, and I was pushing so hard to move to Seattle. I was like, we have to get out of the small town if we're going to grow a business, because my husband was in financial services, and there just was, I was like, we need a bigger moon. This was back, no, my internet is going in and out, sorry guys, when social media was not a big deal. And so it was all about the one-on-one, the face-to-face, and getting him across the kitchen table to potential clients. And there just wasn't that big of a market in our hometown, and definitely not in his hometown, which was just this microscopic little amount of people. And you never can really help the people in your own hometown because they know you too well. They went through all this shit with you, so they're just not going to be at your ideal market. So I was just really advocating for Seattle. And when my father-in-law said, if you roll the money in the water bottle, then you can have it, and whatever is there is yours. Hopefully it's enough to get you there. We rolled it, and it was, I don't know, $500-600. I don't remember what the amount was. Doesn't much matter. It was enough to get us to Seattle. We jumped in the car with our then 9-month-old daughter. Jumped in the car, drove all freaking night to Seattle, got to Seattle, and jumped on into the paper and the little bit of internet that was available back then, found a job, and I was like, we are not leaving, because we had been there I fell in love instantaneously in the little spot that we had landed. And I was just like, this is going to happen. I just know it is. I was just putting my feet down and making it happen, and not understanding the laws that I was really using in that moment, which was certainty, which was confidence, which was really just saying, I ain't fucking going nowhere. Like, this is home. I am making it happen. And I don't care how long it takes, what we have to do to make it happen. I'm willing to do anything to have this desire come true. So we took on this job, and it was not an ideal job. We didn't know anything about Seattle. In Seattle, if you live in Seattle, you know this, but we got this job on Beacon Hill, and Beacon Hill is not necessarily the best place to land in Seattle. It's kind of sketchy ground. You could say it's South Side. Not the safest place for a 19-year-old girl and her baby to land, you know. But we got this apartment management job there, and once we got settled, the internet went out again. You didn't miss anything. I stopped. Once we got settled in that place, you know, roaches started coming out of the woodwork, literally. And there were gun battles in front of our apartment. And it got really scary. We only lasted 3 months there before we were done. But we were determined to stay. Even though it wasn't the best situation. It wasn't ideal by any means. We did what it took to stay. And we stuck it out. We stayed. And from there, we found something that was a little bit better. We found another apartment management company that was better. Put us on Capitol Hill, which is a really cool, artsy, very open-minded hill in the Seattle area. And we had this amazing, you know, old, built in 1936 for the World Fair apartment building that overlooked Puget Sound, the Space Needle, the city, Elliott Bay, Lake Union, and everything. And it just was this beautiful panoramic view. One of my favorite places ever. And we were there for almost 2 years. And it was just awesome. Little complex, like 32 units or something. So it was a very, very homey. I had amazing people that I moved in, and all this amazing stuff. And life felt good for a bit as far as like that. And, you know, in one way, everything was going right for us. In another way, everything was going wrong for us because the finances still weren't coming in. We were struggling in our relationship. We had a child and another child now on the way, baby number 2 on the way, and there was lots of financial pressure, and there was just lots of stuff going on with us. But I kept getting caught up on the negative, despite the fact that we had a roof over our head, despite the fact there was food on the table, despite the fact that the power was working, despite the fact that we had this amazing view, that we were in the city that I so desperately wanted to be in, that we had, you know, healthy children, that we were healthy, that we had all this opportunity at our fingertips. It was amazing opportunity, and there was so much that we could have done with it. But both of us, and you know, I've gone back and I've always been a journaler, and I've read some of those journal things that I used to write back then, and they were pathetic, absolutely pathetic. I was so in victim mode, so caught on the shit. And my message to you today is, where are you getting caught on the shits and missing the blessing? Because what we focus on grows. If we apply our attention to the things that are not lining up quite right, if we apply our attention to the fear, if we apply our attention to those, to, you know, all that stuff, that maybe we're doing stuff that it's not 100% where we want it, but it's 50, 40, 50, 60% where we want it. We can miss the 40, 50%, and we can call our life a failure when it's not failing us and when we're not failing us, because we get caught on this other stuff over here. And we apply so much attention to this that we miss all of this greatness and all the potential. And anybody who has ever had success in life, if you read any of the autobiographies of any of the great leaders, visionaries, game changers of our world, and you just read what they have to say, there is not one that has not had to triumph over obscene obstacles, you know, and challenges, and coming back to the realization that even though a lot of these obstacles and challenges appear to be outside of the self, that they always are inside the self. And what we do is, in life, we are raised, and this is where my title comes from, we are really raised to focus on failure, to focus on problems, to be victims, to be in this state of existing that is never satisfied, that is never happy. And as soon as we get something, we instantaneously blow it up with negativity, because we're not programmed for success. We're not programmed for blessing. We are programmed for failing. And we are taught that unless it's a struggle, unless it's a pain in our ass, unless it's like all this stuff, unless we're like really bogged down, we should be stressed out. We should be negative. We shouldn't have things going our way. We're not worthy of that. Who do you think that you are to just call that in and have it manifest almost overnight? That's ridiculous. No, you're going to struggle. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. So we get this in our mind that we can't have what we want without the struggle. So we create the struggle instead of looking at everything that we have and how we can maintain it in the most peace and ease. We go, oh, well, that was too easy. That was almost too fucking easy. I need to struggle. I just did this last year to myself. I just did this last year to myself. And I spent the better portion of this year digging myself out of the quicksand that I created at the end of last year for myself. And that's the thing about these things, is that we go out and we manifest what we want, and we start to create this great stuff, and then all of a sudden we have a worthiness issue, or we go, well, that was too easy. And I remember saying last year, here I was and had my world flipped upside down, and I manifested a house in 3 days and a car in like a week and a half. And, and my cash flow increased. It was like my cash flow tripled on me, and I wasn't even working it. I wasn't showing up online. I was unable to, in so many ways. I wasn't able to connect with my clients for like 2 months. I was just like, it was bad. It was so bad. And I remember things just popping. And I sat there in awe of how they just popped. I would be like, this is what I need. And bam, it was there. And it was like instantaneous manifestation. It just popped in. And I got to a point towards the end of the year that it got too easy. It got too easy. I had a really, really big month. And last September, I had this massive month, biggest month ever. I cleared, in that month, one night, within no time at all, I manifested like $22,000 overnight, literally. And I remember that, I looked at that month and I was sitting at like $36,000, $37,000 midway through the month. And I was just like, how did this happen? How did I get here? That was too easy. Life is so easy right now. I'm loving it, but it's so easy right now. Like things are just happening. And I remember kind of getting terrified about that ease. And in my terrified was, I don't know if I can keep it. And that was my thought. I don't know if I can maintain this. I don't think I'm capable of maintaining it. And that's all it took. I had that failure thought, and it was resistance. It was resistance to my own growth. It was resistance to my own expansion. It was resistance to the blessing. And that resistance caused me to constrict my energy, caused me to constrict my positive thinking, the things that I was doing, because it wasn't about the action. It was about the frequency and the energy of the thing, of the feeling that I was having, being in love with my life. And then I got uncomfortable being in love. We do this in relationship too, right? We call in this dreamy person and they got all this stuff going on, and then we get scared and we go, wow, that's almost, they're too perfect. They're too perfect for us. And then somehow we manage to push it away, and we start to find their flaws. Well, they're human, so they got flaws, right? And then we focus in on the flaws, and before we know it, we're no longer in love with them, and we've caused a lot of resistance, and we've constricted our love, we've constricted who we are, our energy toward it. And we do that with our money, we do that with our quality of life, we do that with our health, we do it with everything. And it's because we're programmed for failure. It's because we're programmed that our average and ordinary talk is, oh, what kind of ailment do you have? Did I tell you that I have allergies? I have allergies. Yeah. Oh yeah. I went to the doctor twice last week and they told me that it was all allergies. Like, we have these surface level things and we get caught up on that as though this is what we need to fit in to connect. We come at it from a wound, from a pain level. We connect through our pain bodies, and therefore we connect from a point of suffering. We connect from a point of failure, because that is inclusive. That is where we get a lot of energy, because we were taught at a young age, oh, I fall down, I get a boo-boo, and mommy, daddy does this. They go, oh. But if I'm bouncing and playing and having fun, mom and dad don't come over and go, oh, so good that you're bouncing and playing, that you're doing so good. No, we don't. We focus on rewarding the pain instead of rewarding the success, instead of rewarding the good in what's going on. And we do this with our children. And so we program, and we ourselves have been programmed for the failure, for the falling down, for the boo-boos in life. And then we think that that's just the way it should be. And then when we have a lot of really great stuff going on, we have to sometimes create our own little accidents, flop ups. Like me last year, creating my flop up, and that took me a good solid 8 months to start to pull myself out of. Because once we get caught in that energy of failure and that energy of victimhood and that energy of like, I'm just not going to be able to maintain, I'm not going to be able to have the success, I'm not worthy, it's too much for me, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, blah, 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 all these bullshit lies that we tell ourselves, when all we actually need to do is put our head down and figure out what is it that I need to do to maintain it. You're a problem solver. And number one, the problems that you have aren't nearly as big as you perceive them to be. That's your victim self. That's your little girl or your little boy that has fallen down and gotten hurt, that is saying that, you know, that's the issue there. And they're not nearly the catastrophes that you think that they are.
How do I write Arabian Nights?
Arabian Nights? Here, let me type it in for you real quick. Let me see what you got. Oh, you... Who spelled this for you? Good job. There. It says Arabian Nights. You got it. Here's some information. Go back in. Yeah, I know. Yep, that's it. That's the book. Go in. Okay. All right, then come over here. Come sit. So we get programmed for failure this way. He obviously wanted to participate with Arabian Nights. My boys are all about Arabian Nights right now. So we get caught in this failure perspective, and when we're not having it, we don't have the big problems that we think that we should be having, we then start to perceive the big problems, and as we perceive them, so they become. And this is where we cause ourselves, to gain exactly what we're looking for. It is the addiction to failure, the addiction to struggle, the addiction to making it hard on ourselves, the addiction to really, not allow ourselves to feel life the way it should be, which is with ease. And yesterday, actually the last couple days, I've done a few energy integration sessions with quantum integration sessions with some different people. And across the board, we've kind of hit like this new level of integration work, and everybody just kind of constricting. There was so much constriction in the, I think I did like 4 or 5 sessions in the last couple of days. And everybody across the board that I worked with had the same issue going on about constricting. And I found myself going, wow, I really need to analyze where I'm constricting my energy and where I'm not letting myself flow, because I just had, 4 amazing people come through my door that are all constricting their energy and not letting their energy just flow just beautifully. And the last person, if anybody's ever looked at any of my integration work that I do, there's a video and stuff, teach classes on it and everything. But one of the things that you can experience is energetic orgasm. So to experience orgasm without even being touched. And my final client of the day yesterday, who was an integration client, I'm not, don't do that, babe. I wasn't even touching him. So I'm like this far away from his body, and he experiences this beautiful, beautiful orgasm of energetic flow orgasm. But prior to that, he was just constricted. He was just like holding it. It was like he was underneath this sheet of armor. And I told him that. I was like, it feels like you are just carrying this massive armor around, energetically speaking, this armor around, and it's just this weightiness. And as soon as you put it down, I could feel him just like drop into his body. And it was beautiful. It was mesmerizing to just feel that energy that he just like let go of. And when he let go of that energy, everything flowed for him. It was just like boom. And he afterwards he was just like, wow. Wow, because he had never experienced that before. And this was only a second session. So it was like really, really, I'm so proud of him. Second session, and it was just flowing. And he was just like, wow, that was amazing. He's like, that was like everything that you get like when you're in an intimate moment with your partner. He's like, it's all that energy, that same sensation, except there's nothing going on here. It was like, there's nothing, like there's not in there, like you're not even touching me. How's this possible? It's magic, right? No, it's your energy. Well, that energy that he experiences is the exact same energy that we experience in the manifesting of a house, the manifesting of a car, the manifesting of a relationship, the manifesting of getting the money in the bank, the manifesting of travel, of that dream life that you have, your health, your well-being, a happy family, all this kind of stuff. It's what you expect. And sometimes we forget to expect the good, and we get so caught up. Turn it down if you're going to be out here with me, please. We get so caught up on the negative, and we expect the negative. So that's what we start to manifest, as we manifest all that negative from our expectations. I encourage you today to pause. And I know I tell you guys to pause all the time. It's because I pause all the time. It's the creation of your pause button. But I encourage you to pause, and I encourage you to ask yourself, where am I constricting myself? Where am I not letting my energy flow? And how can I tune into that constriction a little bit more so that I can let it go? Let it go and let the energy flow. How are you? Just look at the last few weeks, last couple months of your life, and go, all right, so here are my dreams, here are my goals, here are the things that I want to create, but how am I not allowing them to? Where am I actually focusing in on the not receiving, or where am I focusing in on how strange this creation feels to me? Because when we create something new, something that we haven't experienced, just something that we want, that we feel that we feel will make us happy, that we are striving for, more well-being, more abundance, more connection, more love, more enjoyment, more pleasure in our life, more ease and grace in our life. And we want to manifest that. But what we end up doing is when we don't realize that we're not comfortable with that. And in order to maintain the things that we so desperately want to create, we have to do one very, very vital task. And that is to make what is currently familiar, unfamiliar. And to make what we want, which is the unfamiliar, familiar. That doesn't happen overnight. That happens with consistency. That happens with focusing on the things that we do want. That happens with breaking the barriers of that resistance that we have towards what is unfamiliar that we so desperately want to call in. And we have to do that if we are to keep what we want. Anybody who's ever studied, and this is my last point, and then I'm going to let you guys go. Anybody who's ever looked at, I love looking at lottery winner statistics, and I brought this up a few times in other Conscious Coffees, but it's really an important point to this, is that, when somebody wins the lottery, typically it's somebody that's, they make $25, $35, $45,000, and they win, $7 million or $20 million. Half of it goes to taxes and gets given back to government. And then they get this other portion. So let's call it just $5 million that they get. So they're used to making, say, $35,000. Okay, so they're used to making $35,000, which is pretty much an average number for an individual across at least the United States for annual income. So if you're used to making $35,000 and then all of a sudden you get paid $5 million in one, boom, here's $5 million for you. It is shown over and over again that the people who win money like this, these large portions of money, that they don't keep it for longer than 2 years. At the end of 2 years, they're right back, if not in worse shoes than what they were when they originally won the funds they won. A lot of them have picked up horrible habits. Some of them have even been murdered for their money, have committed suicide because they didn't know what to do with it. They quickly destroy the funds. They don't invest it properly. They don't know how to live with it, and it's because that amount of money is so unfamiliar to them, and that lifestyle of having it is so unfamiliar to them, that they have to do what is normal and natural, and that is dispose of what is not comfortable and get back into comfort. Okay, we do this in all areas of our life, but anytime we receive a blessing that feels uncomfortable, that is just lands so easily, and we get caught into that, our instantaneous result is woo, yay for me, and an oh shit, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with it. I've never had it. I'm not capable of holding on to it, and we actually know that, so we go into the process mode of getting rid of it. But you don't have to get rid of it. You don't. That's a choice. That's like grow the fuck up and put your head down and make the commitment to actually keeping whatever that blessing is. So if you're a recent lottery winner, go invest your money properly and then live on $50,000 instead of $35,000. Up yourself like that and put the rest of it into an investment and just pay yourself $50,000 a year, probably for the rest of your life. If you're invested properly, you may never have to work again. And look, you've now leveled up your life by $15,000, and you can always level it up a little bit more, but your quality of life went up. Now you have ease and flow. You can go do whatever you want in that time frame. That would be a much easier way of going about it. But here's the thing. We are programmed in that, well, it can't be that easy. What am I supposed to do? Where's my value? I'm no longer working a job. Now I'm just getting paid $50,000 a year, and I'm not even working a job. See, there's the resistance. So instantaneously, even though we have the blessing that we're wanting, we're now going, yeah, but that was too easy. Now I don't know what to do with myself. Where's my worth? Where's my value? How do I prove myself for this? So I need some struggle, because that's how I prove myself. I prove myself through the struggle. No. You just cause yourself suffering, cause yourself pain, and you lose the dreams that you manifested by doing that. And you just make life so much harder on yourself. Take it from somebody over here who has done it to herself numerous times. I'm sure I'll do it in the future too. This lesson's just equally for me here as for anybody else. But the reality is the reality that this is part of our human programming of failure into our existence. And the important thing is to recognize it. And when we recognize it, to take certain steps and realize that when we are feeling the discomfort of receiving, that is our spot to actually lean into more receiving, lean into more blessing, lean into really truly having everything that we do want in life, and to not give up on our dreams. So In the comments section, you are going to see a link to my tantric integration in action bodywork stuff. So if you are local, or if you're not local, I work with people all over the place. I have lots of people that actually fly in to see me from all over. But you're more than welcome to go check that out. If you are interested in learning some of these skills, tips, and tricks on how to maintain and get yourself through some of these failure spots a little bit quicker, because you are deserving of everything that you want. You are deserving of that dream life. You're deserving of calling in your dreams, and with ease and flow and quickly, you can just snap those things right into place if you allow yourself to snap them into place. But it's a little scary when it happens. So how do you avoid the fear? How can you actually stop being so fearful, or lean into that fear and still keep calling it in, and move through that discomfort to make what is unfamiliar familiar and what is familiar unfamiliar, so that you can have that fuck yes life? Message me for details on my one-on-one coaching for different workshops that I have available, both global and local. And as always, everybody, stop existing, start living. I love you guys dearly, and really allow yourself to have the dreams that you want, because you're worthy without the struggle. I love you guys. I will catch you tomorrow with another Conscious Coffee.